I am playing Caveman / Neanderthal. And of course I'm reading a book at the moment called Clan of the Cave Bear. And if you haven't read it, you should read it. It's fantastic. It's a wonderful story, and it's about a clan of what are not sort of explicitly called Neanderthal people, but that's pretty much what you think they are. They have tools like this, and they would have used them for things like I've done to remove the keratin from this tree buffalo, to expose the horn, because of course the human being and our ancestors became increasingly less physically imposing until they started to look a little bit like me at 5'8" and particularly unpresupposing physically. But of course, as we got smaller, our brains got bigger, and with our enlarged brains, as with our ape ancestors, of course, came the ability to use tools. And so what they would have done is probably made an anvil out of a skull like this, and then they would have chipped off bone with a probably slightly finer one like this, not chipped off bone, they would have chipped off the sinew. And that could have, of course, been used for meat. I suppose you could have used that for meat if you wanted. Also, they would have chipped off the sinew like this to wind into twine, and that would have been used for things like bows and arrows and that sort of thing. And then, of course, a big heavy rock like this would have been used to crush open the bone. But to crush open a bone like this, you probably have to have something slightly harder than that even. And of course that is where the marrow is, and if you are a hungry Neanderthal, nothing like a good piece of marrow for your breakfast. Now, we have been playing the game Two Truths and One Lie. Now, Brent, of course, very cunningly didn't show you his face while telling you his lie. So we don't know if he's in fact, well, of course, you would have been able to tell if you were a member of the FBI, perhaps, whether he'd been lying or not, unless he's a psychopath. We're pretty sure he isn't. So you would have been able to tell. Now, I'm going to tell you 3 things, one of which is a lie, and it's my little sort of 3 are called How Well Do You Know Safari Live? The first one is, now watch my eyes carefully, everybody. Brent and Jamie are engaged to be married and live in Hoedspruit. Jean-Dre has the haircut of a clown and used to work in the circus. Number 3. Taylor McCurdy comes from the forgettable town of Port Elizabeth. Hashtags for our live. Tell us which one you think is correct. We will do a Twitter poll and come back to you with which one was a lie and which 2 were the truth. Now, there's a poll on Twitter. I have absolutely no idea how that works. Anyway, you'll figure it out. You can vote. You can vote fact 1, fact 2, fact 3. So fact 1, Brent and Jamie are engaged to be married and live in Hoedspruit. Fact 2, Jean-Dre was a clown in the circus. And fact 3, Taylor McCurdy comes from the deeply regrettable part of the country called Port Elizabeth. Good. Oh, Jenny, now you've brought up a subject that is very trying for me to talk about. You said, when is Ronald the Rover coming back? Well, on the positive side, the Russian is returned to us, thankfully, and he is the only one capable of fixing Ronald the Rover, and he is currently fixing Ronald as we speak. The sadness, of course, is that Ronald was not available to us today, but hopefully during the course of the week, he will be. We are, of course, doing a TV show on Thursday from 4 to 6 in the evening Central African time, so the last hour of the show won't be there. You can watch it on the internet like you normally do. Shh. And Ronald will hopefully be up and running for that show. Marvellous. Good. Okay, let's go back inside the tent. Shamrock? Yes, absolutely. We can look at different skulls together. You want to see how they... Look, it's going to be difficult to see how they evolve together, and I'm interested as to where your question comes from. Because I think a lot of the time we're kind of under the impression that we evolved from chimpanzees, which of course is not the case. We did not evolve from chimpanzees. Chimpanzees are as modern as we are. Well, in fact, they're probably a little bit older than we are, but we share a common ancestor. So if we look at the primate skulls that we have here, which I think is quite interesting. I'd quite like to have a human skull in here, but I just think that some people might be quite offended by that. Yes, I imagine it would cause great consternation. So if we look at these two skulls here, they are, of course, the baboons and the monkeys. And they are very similar in many ways, but as you approach humanity, which the monkey is slightly closer than the baboon, in other words, we probably shared a common ancestor with the monkey more recently than we did one with the baboon. We all eventually shared a common ancestor. What you will see is that the monkey's brain is proportionately much larger than the baboon's. You see that? Now, I need to do a little bit of reading up, of course, on the different parts of the brain. But what you have here is a vastly increased back region, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's a larger amygdala, which I think is responsible for emotional responses. And then I think there's also a much larger frontal cortex. Now, if I'm not mistaken again, and Judy H., you will probably be able to bear me out or tell me I'm talking nonsense, the frontal cortex, as far as I'm aware, is responsible for our ability to think forward and to plan and that sort of thing. And so you will see, although a monkey's is nothing like as large as a human's, maybe Gendre's, it is probably able to adapt more readily than something like a baboon can. I mean, I am speaking slightly, I'm guessing here, but that's pretty much what I think is going on here. So the closer you get to the human being, of course, the larger the brain is and the greater the volume of the brain in relation to the size of the body. Our brains, interestingly, are around about, I think, 1,200 to 1,400 cubic meters, cubic centimeters, not cubic meters at all. And I'm not going to try and work that out in inches. In a Neanderthal skull was bigger than ours. Neanderthal had a bigger brain than the human being, and I always think that just leaves a tantalizing thought as to what happened to them. If their brain was so big, why did we outlive them? What happened to them? Was it us that got rid of them? And how clever actually were they? Did they have language? Were they able to speak? We don't really know. It's a wonderful sort of consideration to think about. Of course, around here, because there isn't an enormous amount of fossilization, because it's very ancient and the conditions don't allow for fossilization here so much, we don't have any clue as to what ancient hominids used to wander around this area. Yes, around, of course, we know around about Johannesburg, the Sterkfontein Caves, there are all sorts of hominid ancestors, and what was the latest one? Homo naledi was found there, one of our ancient human ancestors, somewhere around Johannesburg. Who was around here? Who made that hand axe? It could have been somebody as recently as 100 years ago. It could have been someone in the way distant past, more than maybe 100,000 years ago. Isn't it fascinating to think about? Good, let's put these back. Gendre, you're about to be attacked. Now, I'm obviously not very good at this game. Either my facts are too obvious or, I've got a very obvious tell. But 15% of you said that fact one was inaccurate, that Brent and Jamie are engaged to be married. No, I'm afraid that is true. They are. 70% of you got it correct that Gendre didn't used to work for the circus. Brian used to work for the circus, and that is the truth. Gendre still looks like a clown, though, so one of them was relatively true. And, of course, the third one, 17% of you said wasn't true, that Taylor does come from the regrettable part of the world called Port Elizabeth. One part of that was true. Taylor is from Port Elizabeth. In fact, both parts were true. Port Elizabeth is indeed regrettable. Now, let's head straight across to, I think we're going to Steph, who seems to have something that used to be used as an LP needle.
Thank you, James. Trees go to such massive lengths to protect their leaves, which of course are valuable to them because they make food from sunlight, but also they're valuable to animals. And none other than this acacia tree. This is one of the acacias, I think it's the Brackthorn acacia, and has such splendid thorns. I just want to show you how long these thorns actually are by taking one of them off. A thorn, unlike a spine, is a modified leaf. The spine is a modified branch, a thorn is a modified leaf, and just have a look at this guy. Designed totally so that the animals coming to eat get poked in the face. But that is easily longer than my hand. Look at that. Incredible, hey? So these thorns, the tree uses some of its energy to produce these thorns which do not photosynthesize, they don't contain chlorophyll. Some of them do. Fever tree does definitely contain chlorophyll in its thorns, but not this tree. And what it's trying to do is dissuade animals from coming too close and putting their lips onto these leaves to peck it off. And you can see that the thorns do a fantastic job. It's sort of like an eternal arms race between these trees. Now, what's incredible is the fact that the acacia tree uses hardware, it uses thorns, whereas the tamboti tree uses a bit of a chemical defense mechanism. Here's a tamboti tree, and while the thorns will dissuade some predators, they won't dissuade all of them. And so then you have to resort to chemical defense. And you can see that the tamboti leaf, no thorns or spines here, looks yummy until you pick it, and then that milky latex is present. And that milky latex is caustic, it burns, it creates blisters, it'll make you violently sick. And so this tree can quite easily use all of its leaf surface to make food rather than the acacia. So there's your defense mechanisms. Chemical defense, and then I suppose you'd call it, but ordnance. What would you call it? Spikes. All right. And on that note, we're going to send you over to Brent with those leopard.
Now, doesn't that look like the best way to spend a cold, overcast Sunday afternoon, curled up in a tiny little ball, as snug as a bug in a rug? Now, of course, we're hoping that Mom comes back soon, and she'll lead them back to a kill, and hopefully we'll also get a sight of young Hosana, who's probably hiding around here somewhere. But little Shongile is curled into a cute little ball of fluff at the moment, looking very, very content. I keep glancing around, but if young Hosana is lying in a little divot or dip or behind a branch or tree, it's going to be really unlikely that we can see him. I'm very confident he's in this area somewhere, but where exactly? As you can see, it's quite a thick area. Look at that, very thick. So hopefully he is around. I'm pretty sure he is, and hopefully our patience game will win this evening, and Mom will come back and collect both the cubs. Oh no, she hasn't moved an inch. And you can see it's getting darker now. Some relatively big clouds moving in from the south. So even though she's fast asleep, just watch her ears carefully. Every now and then they might move if there's a little bit of noise. And you can see there's a tiny little breeze blowing that hair in her ear. Now you can see how still she is. Now we saw that tiny baby Inyala lying in a very similar little ball in the Moati River. When was that now? Yesterday or day before. Now this is the same principle. If she's very still sleeping like that, it's very unlikely that a lion or hyena will spot her if they're just walking past. She will just look like part of the termite mound. We must remember that a lot of the animals out here, their eyes don't work the same way ours do, so they don't see in detail, and they see in sort of various shades of grey, and their eyes are designed to pick up movement. So if you're being still, it doesn't elicit that instinctive chase response. Now, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but when you're walking in the African bush, the most important rule is whatever you do, don't run. And that's even when you're being charged by something as big as an elephant. Okay, so we're going to sit here, continue to play the patience game. This is live, so we can't predict what's going to happen next. But while we do that, Jamie has got the other big cats of Djuma to show you.
And I second that, which is why it's always a very, very good reason to sit patiently and wait for the action to start. And just bear with me one moment, I was right in the middle of a conversation, so just hold on 1 second. On the Game Drive channel, it's the way in which we communicate amongst guides to share information, and Lex was trying to get hold of me. Copy that. Thanks very much, Lex. I've got a lioness that's parked herself basically under my wheels, so I'm not going anywhere just yet. It's a negative. I'm still with the rest of the pride. Lex had called me because I did ask the other guides earlier if they could let me know if there were any elephants about. He has found some elephants not too far away from where we are. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, fortunately, the lions are so incredibly comfortable with our presence that the second female has plopped herself down there, which is my only way in or out of this particular spot. I can't really go forwards because I'm going to go tumbling down a hill, and obviously I can't go backwards because there's a lioness there. Right there. Even starting up the engine at this point might give her a little bit of a shock. So rather than do that, we're just going to sit patiently, aren't we, Brian? We're just going to wait. Perhaps the elephants will come to us. Hello, gorgeous. Lions were showing signs of stirring, but they seem to have decided against it. As we sit with 7 out of 8 in Kahuma cubs, that's your tail, little one, you silly thing. Cindy, you wanted to know if the lionesses realized that they have a missing cub. Well, that was a matter for much debate when the 2 went missing a couple of weeks ago and only turned up after about 3 or so days. Cindy, we won't ever know for absolute sure exactly what is going on in the minds of the lionesses. Personally, I think that when they have a number of cubs to keep track of, I don't necessarily think that they realize they're missing 1 or 2. Certainly the whole lot, absolutely, they'll know that there's no cubs with them. But when it's 1 or 2 out of 8, I don't think lionesses can count, and I'm not 100% sure that they realize that they've missed 1. But I'm not 100% sure on that, and I think that the older the cubs get, the more they will become an integral aspect or an integral part of the pride. So there are people that disagree with me, and I honestly can't say whether or not I'm correct on this. The reason I say that they don't seem to realize is that they don't seem to be concerned at all. They don't seem to call, they don't seem to be looking, they're perfectly relaxed and content, and we can't, on a cold day like today, they could easily be moving around and looking for a missing cub, and they aren't. And it makes me think it's not that they don't care, I just don't think that they realize. It's an entirely different story when a lioness is denning, and she's got 3 little cubs, for example, and then if one of them were to go missing then I think that they would realize. But I don't know, and I'd be very eager to hear what James has said. However, he has taken my words to heart and has been watching closely to the Djuma Dam camera. Let's go and have a look and see what he has found there.
We're just going to quickly look up there, everybody. There's a Levallian's cuckoo, and they're having a major fight outside here. That's not really why we brought you here, though. The Zumi very, very cleverly found a lion at the dam cam. So we'll go there right now. There's the lioness moving now. Well done, Zumi. You're doing an excellent job of keeping up with that lioness. And I was hoping that there might be a cub with the lioness, but there doesn't seem to be. She seems to be on her own. Now, as far as I'm aware, Jamie's got 3 with her. This one is now going north up Mvubu Road, straight towards the rest of those lions. Where the other lioness is, I don't know. Quite possibly mating with one of the Birmingham boys. Perhaps this one is returning from a failed hunt. Oh, Jamie's only got 2 lionesses, so perhaps this one went for a drink in a puddle somewhere. That's well possible. Now, for those of you who do keep an eye on the dam cam, can we ask Mr. Zoomy, whoever you are right now, to zoom all the way out if you don't mind, or once you've lost sight of the lion. And I just want to show you something, because many of you, of course, keep an eye on the dam cam, and it's wonderful stuff, and it's great you give us information in the mornings, especially when we go out, and it's lovely to know what was seen. That lioness is heading north up Mvubu Road. So sometimes it's very difficult to tell exactly what's going on and where the lions are and what direction they're moving. So she's moving up north up Mvubu Road. If she was to turn 90 degrees to the right-hand side, she would be going due east. And if she was walking straight towards the camera now, she'd be walking pretty much due west. There she goes. That's really wonderfully done. Well done, Zoomy. In fact, you can see that's one of the mothers, can't you? You can see that she's still got very swollen teats. And then if she had been going the opposite direction, of course, she would be heading due south. So that's quite a nice way of showing it, because I think it sometimes can get a little bit confusing, especially if there's no sun. It's quite difficult to tell where on earth those lions are and what they're doing. So that was marvellous stuff. Wasn't that great? Nice to see a lion from the dam cam. Of course, Ronald the Rover met a lion the other day, and they were quite interested in him. The male gave him a bit of a swat. Unfortunately, Ronald's battery died at that stage, and I was unable to take revenge on the lion by giving it a fright. Anyway, that's just the way it turns out. So that was the Lavalian's cuckoo that we were seeing out there. You probably heard them making a huge amount of noise. They're displaying now, and of course the females will be choosing a mate just before they go off and park themselves in probably a babbler's nest. That's what the Lavalian's cuckoo likes to parasitize. So she'll lay her eggs in a babbler's nest. They'll kick, well, I think they actually don't kick the babbler's eggs out. I think they're just raised by the flock with the babbler chicks, and I've always found it absolutely hilarious, especially in winter, because often the Lavalian's cuckoo doesn't migrate in the first year of its life. And in wintertime, you can find these flocks of babblers, which are they're about that big, I guess. And the Lavalian's cuckoo, when it's adult, is about that big. And it is hilarious to watch the cuckoo living with a flock of babblers flying around as if it's one of the flock. The flock has no idea that this idiot isn't part of what they are, and the idiot doesn't have any idea itself. And the next year, when it eventually migrates, no one tells it where to go, no one shows it where to go, it just knows. How? No one really knows. It's somehow embedded in the genetic code, and how they know where to go, those cuckoos, is quite astounding, because of course they're never raised by their genetic parents, which I think is fantastic. Right, Brent is still with the leopard. It looks like the head is up, so there's high action at the leopard sighting. Let's go and find out what's going on.
Well, it depends on your definition of high action. She has raised her head slightly. She is looking down towards the beginnings of a little river system, and that's where her brother might be hiding. If her mom was coming back in here, we would hear her calling, ow, ow, something similar to that, and chuffing. Chuffing is a puffing up of cheeks and all sort of that is unique to leopards and tigers. Only two that seem to communicate like that. Now, while she's staring there and you're looking at her, I'm just picking up my binoculars and just have a quick closer look at that area that she's looking in. Well, you never know, she might have seen a lizard or a frog or a bird. And I can't see anything just yet, but at least she's not wound in a tight ball, so she might go on a little wander around, as she did when we found her at the beginning of this safari. Now, even though the females will leave them in an area, they will wander at this age up to 200 meters, 300 meters from where they were left, but generally will make their way back to quite close to where Mom left them previously. Look at that face, it is just too gorgeous. Her eyes have become lighter the older she's got. She started off with very brown eyes. You can see they're sort of a little bit more greenish now, sort of goldy green. Quite a day. You can see quite a short face like her mom, not a long muzzle. Now, we suspect that Tingana is the most likely father to these cubs, but it is impossible to actually be 100% accurate unless you get the genetics. A female leopard will mate with multiple males while she's in estrus, and any male she might come into contact with, even moving up to 4 territories out of her natal territory, and that's to ensure that all the boys think that they're the father. Because if a male leopard comes across cubs of a female that he hasn't mated with, he will kill them. And again, in killing the cubs, it immediately brings the female into estrus. Look at that. So we're discussing how cats see, and well, big cats in particular, like these ones we're sitting next to. And Mary's wondering, do they see in color or black and white? Oh, in black and white, but it's not true black and white. It's more shades of gray, Mary. But they don't see color, and they don't see detail like we do. Their eyes are designed to pick up on movements. Most primates can see in, oh, look at that long stretch. Oh, but it looks like she's still going to be sitting there, and it sounds like there's some excitement happening with the lions, so let's go have a look.
A herd of impala has just stumbled through into the sighting. Oh, they've just realized. I was wondering when that was going to happen. Sorry to rush you across, but we just couldn't run the risk of missing out on a lion hunt, and she'd gone completely flat behind our vehicle. We couldn't reposition in any way. Now, an impala is not exactly a boon for these lions at the moment, but they are never one to pass up the opportunity for a quick meal. An impala would be gone in the blink of an eye if they had happened to catch one. But unfortunately for them, they just weren't quite quick enough off the mark, and there wasn't quite enough cover for them to have managed to approach in that way. And they were perfectly downwind of those impala, so there's no way that the impala would have even realized. If they hadn't seen them, there was no way they would have smelt the presence of the lions. So there was a moment there where we were all frozen in expectation. Sorry, just bear with me 1 second. Standing by. Yes, have you caught on, madam? She didn't even realize. Sorry, please go again with that. Are you welcome to make your way in? I think that's what he was asking me. And she was fast asleep. She had no idea those impala were there until they ran away. They have now vanished off into the distance, and we find ourselves once again with a relatively peaceful lion sighting. And that's the joy of live, of course, is that we don't know which direction things are going to take. We just have to stop and wait for them to unfold in the way that they do. And for now, the lion cubs could not be more bothered. Their mothers will, however, as it does start to get darker, they are going to get up and start hunting. I've noticed a few of the cubs are already looking like they could use a meal, despite the fact that their moms called them a buffalo. What was that? Lioness up and looking. Now, the lioness that you saw on the dam camera with James, she is on her way towards us as we speak. So she might actually encounter that impala herd herself, and possibly even potentially chase it back in this direction. And now it's just a sit-and-wait game as the lions reunite once again. I haven't seen her returning to us, so we just have to wait our turn. Well, since all is calm down here and there's no sign of an impending impala kill, let's go across to Steph to find out what he's been up to on foot.
Whoa, welcome back. It's just really exciting. And I know I've been saying that young Hasana is right here. And he's just made an appearance. He gave all of us, including Shongili, a fright. He jumped onto her and went, whoa, and we weren't looking. There he is. You can see how big he's getting. Hello, mister. You look very impressed with yourself. You managed to give everyone a fright. You can see how much bigger he is. Yes, you are. Wow, he's grown so much since I last saw him. Now, no sign of Mom, just the kids. So he's been lurking about here the whole day, but he's decided to grace us with his presence. Fast asleep, as she was when he jumped on her. Here we go, waiting patiently for Mom. Now, we might get some playing. Oh, they're listening to the Franklins. And they could even maybe go stalk Franklins. That is a young leopard while Mom's away. And one of their favorite pastimes, stalking. Causing great fear in all the local bird life. Oh, look at that face. Look at his ears pointing directly towards where the Franklins are calling. Hello, Gigi. Gigi wants to know, how old are these cubs? Oh, there's a big yawn. Oh, yes, there we go. Gigi, they are just over 9 months old now. I think 9 months. What month are we in now? November. They were born in February, on the 2nd of February. Now, quite often you sort of guess when a leopard cub is born, but we were lucky enough to see them when they were a few hours old. We noticed their mother acting quite strangely the evening before, and she was heavily pregnant, and she went into a little cave on the riverbank, and we went there the next morning, and these two absolute bundles of joy were not much bigger than my hand at that stage. Yeah, are you? Look how big you are now. Well, you're going to be full of mischief. You're going to leap on your sister. No leaping, no harassing. Oh, maybe he's growing up. Probably not, though. Let's try and move to the other side of the termite mound. Well, a really big safari live. Welcome to Ventile in Canada, who's a new viewer and said this looks really interesting and cool. It is very cool. And Ventile would like to know, when do leopards normally go out to hunt? Well, Ventile, it all depends. So mostly it's from the late afternoon into the night, but some leopards do hunt during the day. Their mother is quite famous for hunting during the day. Oh, he's come back. Of course he's come back as we move around, keeping us on our toes. Now, it also depends on where you are, Ventile. So in areas where leopards face persecution from people, they almost hunt exclusively at night. But in an area like this, where they have massive protection and are able to live their lives without any persecution from people, they will hunt during the day as well. Generally, cooler days. Now, the reason for this is that, like most big cats, they have a problem dispelling heat. Oh, big yawn. Been sleeping all day, now he wants to play. Where's Mom with my dinner? But as we were saying, they are opportunists, so like most of the wild animals out here, if something happens upon them, whether it be day or night, rain or sunshine, they will take that opportunity to get a meal. Even if they've caught something already, they will store it, stock it, and eat it a little later. Now, most animals out here have no problem eating rotting flesh, and leopards included. Where are you off to now, mister? Are you coming to come have a look at us? Or is he off to go stalk the Franklins? Now, for those of you wondering, and I knew, a Franklin is a bird, almost like a partridge. So he's gone right behind the car. I'm just trying to see where VM's going to swing around, where he's off to. There is a little pan close by. He might go for a drink. Well, just keep an eye on where he's off to. Oh, he's coming to... What are you up to, mister? Oh, he's found something that smells interesting in that bush. Look at those eyes. And sister's just snoozing still, back in her tight little ball, so we're going to stick with him. And hopefully he moves out of that thicket shortly. Oh dear, I think I've been naughty. Yes, I have. I've pulled my earpiece out. There we go, it's back in now. There he is. Look at that, beautiful. Now, Savari Dean's wondering, do leopards avoid mange because they don't eat buffaloes? No, a mange doesn't come from buffaloes. Mange is generally picked up from the sand. It's a mite that lives in the soil. And so it's not about what they eat. And I actually have seen quite a few leopards in the southern Sabi Sands that have developed mange as well. So it's not exclusive to lions, and I mean anything with fur can get mange. Impala, wildebeest, zebra, giraffe, lion, leopard, hyena. So it's not exclusive to animals that eat buffalo, and actually probably more common in the herbivore species. Well, let's go see. I think he might be going for a drink, so let's follow him. Sister still fast asleep, not even moving. He's going quite quickly. Don't worry, we'll get there. Oh, we're a duck under the bushes. Now, this is one of the incredible things about being in a private area like this, and in these private areas we are able to off-road. Now, the reason being that you can't generally off-road in a national park is because if you're a member of the public can go there. Now let's see, where did he go? He might be on the other side of this termite mound. Is he? Here he is. Hello, monster. Look at that. What are you doing in the... Having a good old time. So, saying about off-roading. So, of course, everyone here who drives the vehicles has got lots of experience in the bush. So, we know which trees. It's safe to drive over. Oh, he's stalking doves that have come down to the mud's edge. That's what he's doing. Or he is now. I think the dove caught on to him, though. Yeah, dove's a bit quick for you, Mr. Hosanna. So it seems like while his sister was snoozing, he's been meandering around, terrorizing the local bird population. What are you going to terrorize next? He seems to be searching for something to chase. So we're going to stick with him. Hopefully he finds something else to terrorize shortly. But while we do that, let's go see what incredible vista Jamie has.
And what a truly incredible vista it is. Just look at the beauty of this almost full moon. Full moon's tomorrow, isn't it, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're not quite there. We're still at the waxing gibbous stage. I'm going to let you take a moment to take in the beautiful vista as Brent described it, whilst I answer poor Mike, who has been trying to get hold of me on the Game Drive channel. Standing by, Mike. Copy that, no problem, Mike. If you take the 2-track that leads to the old hyena den off Mvubu Road, you'll find us there. You just follow the 2-track as if you're going to the hyena den. And there we go. Just helping Mike. Sorry about that, everybody. I know he is very close to us, which is why it was relatively urgent that I help him out in terms of tracking us down. He is close. I'm just helping him find exactly where these lines are. So while you were with Brent and the magical prince and princess, we have the arrival of the third lioness, who had gone to obviously go and have a drink, or perhaps scout out and see whether there were any potential hunting opportunities. But all three are reunited once again, for which 2 cubs in particular seem to be rather thankful as they settle down and tuck into the evening meal. And scenes like this might not be described as overly exciting or action-packed, but they are a moment to just really, truly enjoy the beauty of an evening like this evening. From the view of the moon that we just had, to these suckling, contented cubs. And one always tolerant mom. Oh, big stretch. All cats and dogs have the ability to stretch like that. What you found? Nothing terribly exciting. I have a feeling that these lions are not going to be moving off just yet. Now let's go to James, who of course has the amazing capacity to give you a really close-up view of some very interesting things.
The most amazing thing I wanted to talk about now, excuse me, first of all, was the fact that the Nkuhuma's cub's hip is showing there, and I find that strange because they eat so much, so I don't really know why that should be the case. The second thing is to say that yesterday I met a guest who was staying at Arathusa, and that guest said to me that they had just watched Shongile, yes, the very same, killing a squirrel and eating it. So she has officially made her very first kill. So that's quite a nice thing to know. I didn't tell anybody so that I could save it for a tent fact, everyone. Now, let's have a look down here at the microscope. There is a gorgeous beetle. Now, the Fossicker-in-Chief found this on something called a sandpaper raisin. Now, the sandpaper raisin is obviously given its sandpapery quality. You can see by those very fine star-shaped hairs that are on the surface of the leaf. And I said to the Fossicker-in-Chief, I said to her, what kind of a beetle is this Fossicker-in-Chief, pray tell? And the Fossicker-in-Chief said to me, I don't know what kind it is. So I said, seek ye the beetle in a book, because I am sure that I hast seen it there before. And the Fossicker-in-Chief then didst open the book, look inside it, and come back to me and say, I still do not know what is thy beetle. So we don't know what it is, everyone. I do apologize for that really horrendous performance. But it is very beautiful nevertheless, and it lives on the sandpaper raisin, which I think is rather marvelous. Beautiful. Good. Excellent. Now, we had one other thing to show you, and that was a leaf full of eggs. Now, let me very carefully get it out, because, of course, one must move with great stealth and care. Is there enough light on that, Chandra? Can you see? No, you can't, because my finger's in the way. That's very irritating. There it is, everybody. Those are eggs. Isn't that amazing? Like little rubies. Very round rubies. Now we're going to put them under the microscope. And what you'll see is that they have hatched. What we do not want to see is my nail. There we go. Look at that. You can see they've hatched. How fantastic is that? Now, we think that they could well be little caterpillars that have grown into bigger caterpillars like that blue one that we saw earlier, and we confirmed, both Taylor and I, that they are from the Charaxes butterflies. And once you come back to me, which will be very shortly indeed, I will show you some Charaxes. There are all the Charaxes butterflies. They're these beautiful things. They're also called emperors. And the bushveld emperor is probably the most common one that we find down here. That's him there. Isn't he gorgeous? So that's what those gorgeous caterpillars are going to produce, which I just think is marvelous. Now, Brent Leo Smith is still with that marvelous male leopard. Let's go and take a look at it.
So he's up to all sorts of shenanigans. He's stalking around. He's terrorizing the local bird population. And the drongos are quite upset with him, but that's not going to stop him. There you go. He's looking for all sorts of little creatures. He's hoping to find something he can pounce upon. So this is what I talked about earlier. There we go. He's just pounced on something. About them honing their skills. More than likely, he was trying to pounce on a grasshopper or some other poor little unexpected insect. But he missed, otherwise he'd be looking a little bit more impressed with himself. I'm just going to try and get us in a slightly better spot. Now, we're quite lucky, so normally at about this time of the day, as it gets a bit darker, we normally have to leave leopard cubs under a year old, but due to our new equipment and having, oh there he comes, and having infrared, we are able to stay much longer with these incredible animals. Now it looks like he's going to be making a beeline back for his sister. He's probably still asleep atop the termite mound. Okay, let's move. Get into position to see them reunite again. Well, as we've just seen that little pounce and movement and all the stalking, Alice in Ohio is wondering, who do I think is the better hunter, Shungile or Hosana? Just give me 1 second, Alice. I want to make sure we get there if he goes to jump on his sister. And Alice, I would say it's probably much of a muchness. I'd say they're probably equal in their skill at this age. Now, he's looking under the logs and everything. Now, then if we look up on that termite mound, look at that. She is watching him. She's not going to be caught unawares again. She might even start stalking him. Here we go. So, there we go. She's going to try and leap upon her brother. Look at that. Oh, look at that. See how the ears are flat? I'm quite sure he's aware that she's there, though. And this is probably a game that these two have played for hours upon hours. Oh, I can't see where he is, but he's below her somewhere. We can't see him. There we go. There she goes. So he's there where we can't see. Let me just move again. I'm trying to see where it's going to be the best spot. It's just a little difficult area. I'm going to see if we can peek across from this log, or we can... I know it's going to be better to go around. One unfortunately large tree, fallen tree in the way. And you can see how relaxed these little cubs are in our presence. They carry on as if we weren't even here. There we go. Some tender moments between siblings. Now, the one thing you'll notice, which is a very different comparison from the lion cubs, because the lion cubs are almost always in attendance with other lions and that, and the solitary cats, even when they're playing, unless mom's around, they're very quiet. That's a guilty look on his face. Waiting patiently for Mom to return. Hi, Cat in Tampa. Cat is wondering, do they still have their baby teeth? I would say not, Cat. They would have lost those at about 6 months old. So they're on their big teeth, or their big teeth are growing through now. Rolling. My mic's switched off. Oh, I think it's, there we go. How's that? I think I sat on it. Isn't this just wonderful? We're able to spend these incredible, intimate moments with these cats as they grow up. Now, wouldn't it just be wonderful if Mom arrived now as well? There would be much excitement. And remember I said when we were sitting with that little leopard fluff ball curled on top of the termite mound doing absolutely nothing, I said, patience is key. And often the best sightings you ever see come if you are patient. Now, Megan was wondering what happens if their mom doesn't come back. Well, if she doesn't come back tonight, they'll play for a bit and then they'll snooze again. Now, remember, leopards probably sleep a little bit less than lions, probably 18 hours a day. Or rest and snooze for 18 hours a day. If Mom didn't come back today, it wouldn't be unusual. Sometimes she'll leave them for 3 or 4 days. Especially at... Oh, did you hear that, Viam? I thought I heard her. Ow! But I think we would have got more reaction from them. I think it's my wishful thinking. So, but Megan, if she didn't come back indefinitely, it would be a very interesting thing. They are probably old enough to survive. Cubs this young have survived after their mother have abandoned them. It is unusual, but it's not impossible. And generally, they would probably live a lot of insects and squirrels and dwarf mongoose and francolin and small things. till they were able to get big enough to graduate onto bigger animals. So we're going to sit here in hope that Queen Karula comes to lead them back to a carcass. Now, aren't we spoilt? Because from one set of big cats to another with Jamie.
And spoilt, I think, is definitely a very, very good way to describe exactly what it is we are. We just whipped you across to have one last view of the lions before we move off. As you can see, it is starting to get relatively dark, and we're going to start heading back towards the main camp. Uh-oh. What's wrong, Cub? What happened there? Shame. I think it got something in its foot. That was not very coordinated at all, was it? But yes, we are slowly but surely starting to run out of light, and for our newer viewers, what that means is that we cannot linger too much longer. We cannot spotlight a group of cubs of this age, so we don't want to impact their lives in any way, shape or form, and adding the extra level of spotlight distraction at night just isn't fair on them. So we will be pulling out of the sighting in a moment, and we'll start trundling back towards James in the tent. Look at you. They're then restless. Even though they're flat, even though this lioness is lying on her side, you can always tell when lionesses or a group of lions is thinking about moving. From the licking of the paws, nibbling away at the nails, just making sure that their feet are in good condition. And when they start to yawn as well, that's when you know that movement is imminent. And Zentile, there we go. That brings us to the answer to your question, which is, do lions sleep at night or do they hunt? It's very much, sorry, I heard whatever she heard, which I think was an elephant actually, moving around in the vegetation behind us. It's very much dependent on the circumstances. So yes, for the most part, lions are nocturnal hunters. They are almost always, when they do hunt, it is almost always at night or on a cloudy day, and that's because they can't cope with hot temperatures of our daytimes here in Africa. However, they will, if they have a kill, they're quite content to, if it's a big kill, something like a buffalo or giraffe perhaps, they're quite happy to just nap away throughout the evening. But for the most part, they are nocturnal animals, and that is when they actually truly come into their own and truly become the apex predator of this area. And as I make my way out of the sighting, as it starts to get a little bit dark, we're going to start heading out. We're going to head across to Brent and his gorgeous leopard cubs.
Well, it seems like a lot of the playing slowed down a little bit, and obviously Queen Karula is out there somewhere trying to get them some dinner. Oh dear, and I nearly got whacked by an assassin bug, but it's gone now. Trying to climb into my boot, naughty assassin bug. But we are going to leave these leopards shortly and leave them to play. I don't think Mom's coming in there. Look at them, off they go in the next couple of minutes. And also, we don't want to bash and crash at night. If they're staying in one place, it's fine, but as you can see, they're going to be quite mobile now, and we don't want to accidentally attract any hyenas while we're moving. Now, that's the main reason we don't stay with leopard cubs after dark, is that the hyenas are so smart, and there's been game drives on the Sabi Sands for so long that they've learnt that spotlights at night can sometimes mean leopard kills on the ground or something like that. So they actually learnt to follow spotlights to steal their kills. But we're not going to stay. We're going to go move on and move back towards camp, because it is getting dark, and hopefully, I think we're not going to get any rain while we're on drive, but hopefully overnight some more life-giving rain will fall here in the Sabi Sands. And also, driving around in these areas in this part of the bush, you can break your car very easily. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering how we identify the different individual types of leopards, and while my hands are busy, the artist extraordinaire, James Hedry, is going to draw you some spot patterns.
I think given how magnificent my art is, I should perhaps have a beret to wear in here. What do you think, Andre? Yes, with a pain au chocolat and a small espresso next to me. Very nice on my easel. Now what we have here is two drawings which are very clearly obvious as to what they are. We have Shongile and Hosanna, obviously. Now what I'm going to show you here is their spot patterns. Now what's interesting is that I've noticed a different spot pattern on Shongile, and I don't know how many of you have as well. This Shongile has got her 3 spots, and she's got her beauty spot on the left, so that's 4. And I used to think she was a 3-spot leopard on that side, so I used to think she was a 4-3 leopardess. She isn't. She's got another one there. It's very tiny, like that, and another one just there. That's a mistake, the top one. So she's actually 4-5. That's what she is there. You can only see those if you look very carefully at her, so that's quite interesting. So we'd call her a 4-5 female. I'm sure those other 2 will get slightly bigger as she gets bigger, and he is a very clear, I think, 3-3. So that's quite nice. And, another great way, of course, of identifying them, Nicole, you've picked that up quite nicely, is by the necklace around their necks. They've all got a prominent necklace, correct? But it's all unique. Of course, all leopards have unique spots, but the necklace and those spots around the nose are some of the more noticeable features, and it makes it easier for us to identify them. I'll quickly write Shongile for you here in my best, most glorious handwriting. Isn't it lovely? I was a calligrapher at one stage, Andre. Do you believe me? No. Yes, that's a straight lie with no truth involved in it at all. And that's Hosanna. Yes, very nice. Okay. Now, Shongile, of course, as Brent said, means beautiful one or exquisite one or whatever it is, which I find it very interesting still that we have in 2016, we've named the girl beautiful and we've named the boy sort of chief. Big, strong chief. Hosanna means chief, of course, and the A-N-A, Hosi, means chief, and Ana means very small. So Hosanna, small chief. Let's head across the dam cam where Henry is on the prowl for some dinner. There he is. You can see him in... well, please excuse the picture. It's just what happens, I'm afraid, when it gets dark. And very cleverly, this camera that we have there is able to kind of suck the light out of the very last bits of darkness. And Henry is now eating himself some water vegetation, some weeds, and he'll go off and get some grass, I'm sure, a little bit later on. But already, because of that greenery, he's putting on condition. And so his fight with the lions of 2 nights ago, certainly much easier. At least last night, certainly much easier than it would have been 2 months ago when he'd had nothing to eat at all. So that's good old Henry there. Fine fellow that he is. I'm looking forward to the day that Ronald rejoins him. And, of course, Ronald, everybody, for those of you who don't know, is a robot. He is unfortunately, he had an accident with the water. I drove him into the water by mistake. And actually, I didn't. He was kicked into the water by an elephant, and then I sank him in an attempt to get him out. It was a dreadfully painful time for all of us. Ronald is on the way to recovery. The Russian is fixing him, thankfully. Whew. Okay. Let's have one last look at the microscope today. I wanted to show you something else that Taylor found, and that is the flower here. Gorgeous flower of the sandpaper raisin, on which we saw that bug that she couldn't identify. I, of course, knew exactly what it was. I just didn't want to tell her. Talking rubbish. I had no idea what it was. I still don't know what it was. She's been marvellous finding all these things for us. Look at this gorgeous thing. So that is the yellow flower, the sandpaper raisin. And for those of you who haven't been watching while we've been in the tent, it's quite a nice way to show the different male and female parts. So most of those things, let me try and hold it still. There is a bit of a wind, I'm afraid. The yellow bits, yellow and white and gold, those are the anthers. Those are the male parts of the plant. That's where the pollen sits. And then that green thing off to the bottom left, I'll just try and focus in on it a bit better. There it is. Look at that. Now that's the style, and the style is basically a tube down which the pollen will go, and it'll go into the ovum, which is way down in the bottom of the plant there. And that is where, yes, I thought that was quite impressive too, Kirsten, thank you. What you'll find is that the ovum contains the eggs, and the eggs will be fertilized by the pollen, which will in turn form a little fruit, and on this particular plant, it's actually edible. It's not particularly delicious. Very little fruit out here is delicious, unless it is a marula fruit, which is exceptional. Right, let's head back to Jamie and find out how her darkness driving is going.
Driving around and just enjoying the peace of the evening. Just bumped into an elephant herd. One of them, a shame I didn't see it as I came around the corner. There's the one shooting across the road in front of me. Hello, my girl. Do you mind if I come past? Hello, my girl. Okay. Alright, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a little bit more room. Just shaking her head at us a little bit. For the most part, elephants are actually absolutely fine in the dark, in the evening. I'm going this way, my girl. See? See? Here we go. Don't panic. It's okay. No, 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 no. See? We're moving. Shame. She just got a little bit of a fright because of the position that she was in. She just felt a little bit cornered, which is why I went out of my way to go around her. Sorry, my girl. There she goes. She's relaxed again and feeding once again. Oh yes, unfortunately we can't, they are daytime animals, elephants, although they move around at night a lot. But for the most part we try and avoid sitting and spending long periods of time with our lights on them. It's not like the other diurnal animals, the things like the antelope, where we can actually put them far more at risk of predation if we do shine spotlights on them by essentially taking away their ability to see in the dark for a while. But for elephants, that's not too much of a concern because it's highly unlikely that they are going to be attacked by anything. But even the lions out here don't have any reason to risk hunting elephants. In other parts of Africa, they do, and they do it relatively successfully. But with our elephants, the chances are incredibly slim. Either way, though, we don't want to sit and shine lights straight at them. We've left them alone for now. I said at the start of the sunset safari I wanted to find some elephants. Well, we succeeded. Unfortunately, it was just slightly the wrong time. And that's the elephant, by the way, for those of you who are paying close attention to earlier when the lioness lifted up her head and I said I could hear elephants. It's those elephants. We've just come the long way around and we're probably about 400 meters or so away from those lions. And those of you watching the dam camera, please keep an eye out after the end of the sunset safari. We are going to be, well, the lions are going to be trying to reunite once again with each other, the Amber Eyes and the young female together with that male, and then of course the rest of the Nkuhuma pride. So you might have that, and apparently there's a sound of a lion roaring moving slowly north along Twin Dams. So once we reach the end of our sunset safari, keep an eye out for the lions returning once again. I have no doubt that tonight is going to be the night for the predators. Karula hunting for her 2 cubs, and for the lions hunting for theirs. This is the best possible kind of evening. Now, although it was full moon, that's going to be covered up by cloud. It's going to be windy. I think it might even be a little bit rainy as it starts to move further into the evening. And that, of course, is the best possible weather for a predator to hunt in. And that's exactly what they're going to be doing tonight. So hopefully, as Brent said, we have a start of a sunrise safari with a Karula going to fetch her cubs and take them to a kill, and the Nkuhumas with whatever it is they happen to catch. And I say it as though it's a certainty because, of course, the Nkuhumas have been so unbelievably successful of late. Checking carefully every tree for a chameleon. And speaking of our climatic and geographic and all sorts of things conditions, Deborah in Ohio, you say that you are so excited to see the full moon tomorrow. Me too, Deborah. I'm always excited to see the supermoons. I can't wait. Hopefully, because it rose at about 5:15 this evening, which means it should rise closer to 6 tomorrow. And that would be fantastic because it means that it'll be a little bit darker. It's going to be a truly spectacular, spectacular moonrise. So for those of you that join us, it would be wonderful if you could. And you can enjoy the incredible sunset safari moon. Right, let's head back across to Brent and find out where he is and what his plans are.
Taking one last gander at finding Queen Karula. Now, there's this massive cloud bank that's moving in, which is bad news if you're an impala, buffalo, or zebra, but great news if you're a lion or a leopard. So there's a good chance that both the Nkuhumas and Queen Karula are going to be successful. Oh, yay, yay, yay. Bush babies! They were moving as well, jumping from treetop to treetop. Hopefully we get there in time. There we go. I think we're gonna make it. He jumped before we got you. Oh, there he jumped again. Okay, a little bit further forward. Here they are. Hello, little guy. Oh, he's caught something. Oh no, he's just... Yeah, he's got a bug. He's got a beetle he's eating there. That must have been what he jumped for. How cool is that? Yum, 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 yum. Now, the bush babies are going to be overjoyed with the rain and all the insects that they bring. It makes foraging a lot easier. Oh dear, where's he gone? Oh, off he's gone. Can't see him anymore. He's gone into some thick stuff there. Well, anyway, that was a nice little bush baby sighting, even though it was very quick. I see him munching upon a beetle, or it looked like a beetle. Wonder what other nocturnal wonders await in the last few minutes of drive. And as I was saying, it's really good hunting weather tonight. There's a bit of a breeze, there's dark skies. Any ambient light from the moon is going to be darkened by the clouds. Now, it gives the lions and leopards a distinct advantage, especially if the wind picks up a bit more. So those Djuma cam aficionados, keep a listen out. You might hear the bellow of a buffalo overnight as the Nkuhumas prey on yet another one. Well, they did try a hippo last night, and I could hear that from home. So who knows what they might try eat tonight. Okay. I'm going to start slowly making our way back towards camp now. I wonder what else we're going to find. Now, we are going to be doing something a little bit different on this evening's sunset safari for the last 10 minutes, but I'm not going to tell you just what yet. It's a surprise. Now, we've had quite a few buffalo that have just keeled over from the drought and died, and Monique's wondering why haven't the Nkuhumas fed off any of those? Well, Monique, it's just been such a time of plenty. I think they've stumbled upon carcasses or made kills before finding those ones that have died of natural carcasses of natural causes. So I just think they just didn't happen upon them, and when they were there, they were sitting fat and happy on a buffalo of their own. Okay. Spotted serval in this little grove of terminalias, and I know Jamie had a brief glimpse of one the other night, so fingers crossed. Definitely one of the more beautiful little spotted cats. And it's always get that sort of dark and ominous feeling as these clouds roll in on a dark night, and I wouldn't want to be a buffalo tonight, put it that way, or an impala for that matter. And as you can see, I mean, I'm not seeing much general game. They're going to be keeping a very low profile in this windy, cold, dark weather. As I said, we're going to be doing something a little bit different to end this Sunday safari, and for the last 10 minutes we're all going to be together, but I'm not going to explain in depth too much, and as I said, it is a little bit of a surprise. No, I was hoping Karula, one last view at Karula, but alas, no sign, so I'm going to head back towards camp. And don't forget, we'll be doing this bright and early again for tomorrow's sunrise safari. But now, to explain what's going on for the rest of the safari, let me hand you over to the eloquent James Hendry.
Everyone, for the next 10 minutes or so, we're going to try and remain eloquent. One of us will remain elegant, I'm sure, well, maybe two. But we have some sad news. And that sad news is that our very special friend, Gracie, aged 9, passed away, unfortunately, last Wednesday. And she fought a very long battle with cancer, and she's unfortunately gone off to join, well, whatever shore it is, in a greater light, hopefully, in peace and without any more pain. And so for the next few minutes, we're just going to pay a little tribute to her. She was a very special part of every single one of our lives. And then at the end of that, we'll have a little song. But before that, here are some of the highlights of Gracie's days on safari with us. We have not been idle while you have been away from us, everybody. Oh no. Now, during the Christmas period, I was drawn and sent a very kind picture by Gracie, aged 8, in Ohio. And Gracie, of course, received a Safari Barbie for Christmas. Jamie is a representative of Safari Barbie out here, of course. And she wanted, I think she made mention of a Safari Ken, if there is such a thing. And Gracie, I hope you're watching today, because while I was at Buffelshoek Dam, looking for animals, of which there were none, you'll be pleased to know that I found Safari Ken. There he is. You'll see that he has got 2 arms. He has 2 legs, he has hair. Liam said he looks a little bit like Donald Trump, but I think that's a bit unfair. Liam's contribution to Safari Ken was his hair. He has 2 eyes. One of them is about to pop out. He has a nose, obviously a very smiley face because he's on safari. One hand, he's obviously right-handed. You can see the right arm is slightly stronger than the left arm, and he's probably been driving a car with his right hand out of the car. That's why that's darker than that one. And so this is Safari Ken, Gracie. I hope you like him.
It's there. There it is behind the mother. Is that it? Could it be? Oh my goodness. Look, it's still fuzzy. It is. Oh goodness, look at its wobbly legs. Oh, I don't believe it. I can't believe we've actually seen it. Hi, baby. Gracie, I have to tell you a secret. While I was watching that baby elephant, I was really, really hoping that you were able to watch this afternoon. Really hoping. So it's put a huge smile on my face to hear that 9-year-old Gracie, who is one of her favorite animals is an elephant, that her heart is bursting with love for that little baby. And Gracie, you don't have to thank me. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad that you could share it with us.
Hello, Gracie, age 9. You say, don't be in a yucky mood about this bird. Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're absolutely right, Gracie. Especially not on your birthday. And I'm glad, I hope you've had a good birthday drive. I think we've had some wonderful things for you. Elephants and lions and lion cubs and Inkanieni the leopard and fork-tailed drongos and a tawny eagle, not a Wahlberg's eagle.
Welcome, Gracie, and very, very happy to finally be having the tea party with you. I didn't bring the right muffins. We've got biscuits instead. They are very tasty biscuits. They're called tennis biscuits. And I don't know if you get them in America, but we love them here in South Africa. I did plan to bring some delicious vanilla muffins that I was going to put some of my homemade marula jam on, but it turns out that James and Brian found the muffins that I'd hidden in the fridge for you. I'd hidden them behind a watermelon, and James and Brian found them, but they didn't know that it was for our tea party, so we can't be angry with them. But it's quite funny that they ate our muffins and they didn't know that they were ours. Because it's very hot today, Gracie, I've made a nice cold delicious chocolate milk drink, so I'm going to fill your glass up now. Very good. Look at how high we are. I don't know if you can hear it creaking. It's so good.
And what you can see from that clip, of course, is that Gracie brought us at least, if not more, joy than we ever gave her. So thank you very much for that, Gracie, and we're going to say cheers to you with your favourite chocolate milk. Bottoms up. Now, each of us has got a little memory to share, and I'm going to hand over to Jamie to share hers.
I think one of my favourite memories of Gracie was when she asked us to ask Brian, who of course at one point was in an actual circus, to please tell the circus to send through some water so that the hippos could have some and the elephants could drink some. And I always felt it was unbelievably touching that no matter what she was going through, she had that incredible selfless, caring nature. And as James said, she touched a lot of lives.
So unfortunately, Gracie, I didn't get to know you too well before you passed on, but I did find a poem that I'd like to read to you, and it's called God Saw You Getting Tired by Francis and Kathleen Kilo. God saw you getting tired, and a cure was not to be. So he wrapped his arms around you and whispered, "Come to me." With tearful eyes, we watched you, and we saw you pass away. And although we loved you dearly, we could not make you stay. A golden heart stopped beating when he gave you rest. God's garden must be beautiful. He only takes the best.
Very fitting. Now, I think my favorite Gracie story was the first baby wildebeest seen last year and it was right next to the Djuma pan, and we've been going through that incredible dry period, and so all the animals were really, especially the buffalo bulls, were just sitting in that pan, and the baby wildebeest got a bit confused and saw a big dark thing there, and so it went up to this buffalo bull, sort of thinking it might be another friendly animal or friendly wildebeest, and this buffalo bull head-butted it about 5 meters, and this thing was 6 hours old, and it just was sort of, luckily at that age, malleable bones, it sort of just bounced back up, didn't really know what was going, and Gracie came through. That buffalo needs a timeout. So that was my favorite. But yes, very, very, very special young lady, Gracie.
So what you can see is that none of us have a sad story to share at all about her, and I think every single one of us, every time the name came through on the microphone or on the earpiece, said Gracie, aged 9. It was 8 for a long time, obviously. Gracie, aged 9, would like to know something. my face used to light up. I've watched clips of Jamie's face lighting up. I've watched clips of Brent's and Taylor's faces lighting up, because the questions were clever. They were often comments born of great poignancy and of somebody with a huge amount of depth of empathy. And that's my sort of general memory of Gracie. And I know all the cameramen share in wishing her family and anybody who loved her, especially from Safari Live, of course, our best and most profound condolences. Now, obviously, I should sing her a little song, and I was going to sing a Zulu song called Osiyeza, which means we are coming, and it's about the crossing that the Zulu people believe you make to the land of your ancestors when you die, and it's a very good song. But I thought it was a bit miserable for Gracie, and of course, one of the great songs of Africa is that one, The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and I thought we'd do a new verse, and the new verse goes like this. You can all sing along. Oh dear.
Don't you start.
Yeah, then we're all gone.
It goes like this. It goes, I'll just say the words first and then I'll try and sing them without being a total fool about it. It goes, in the blue sky, the peaceful blue sky, a new star shines tonight. And anybody in the background there, perhaps Brian, you'd like to lend your voice to this?